So this is our third segment about sun and sun protection. This segment we're going to cover mostly sunscreen, some things about the labels of sunscreen, the use of sunscreen. Let's review the last two lessons briefly. The first lesson was about ultraviolet light. We said that it was an invisible form of radiation that causes sunburns, tanning, aging of the skin, and skin cancer. It's something you can't see. You can't see now, but you can see the results of it, sometimes even at your age. Remember, look up at your shoulders, see if there's brown spots that you got from a burn, or the number of moles you have on your chest or back, which could have increased just at the time of a burn. In our second lesson, we talked about 5 main ways of protecting. The first was shade. The second was clothing and eye protection, of course. The third was sunscreen, which we're going to talk about in detail. The fourth was being aware of things like snow, water, and sand. And the fifth was avoiding tanning beds. And as a bonus, the sixth was Heliocare supplement. Now, Johnny, like your teacher, just a second. I got eyes behind my head. I'm watching you. Now wake up. You, in the back. Sarah, pay attention to me. Mike, pay attention. I got my eyes on you. Now, let's come back to sunscreen. Sunscreen has a lot of stuff on the label. This one says sheer physical sunscreen 50 plus. Let's talk about SPF first and the number, what it actually means. We commented earlier that SPF is a sun protection factor. Essentially, whatever the number is, 1 divided by that number is how much sun is coming through compared to not using that sunscreen. Let's pick a 50 just for argument's sake. It means 1/50th of the sun gets through. Okay, that's 2%. Go, wow, it's phenomenal. Yeah, well, it ain't that phenomenal. You want to know why? Because most of people do not use it appropriately. They miss spots. They don't put it on enough. They don't reapply it. They go in the water. They wash it off with their towel. There were some studies done recently that looked at the SPF to ask the question of, is it really the SPF that it's stated to be in reality? And it was found that most aren't. So a lot of doctors, dermatologists recommend using higher SPFs, figuring this. Well, if you only get half as much on, use a higher number, then maybe it's still acting like an okay number. But don't kid yourself and think that just because it says it's a high SPF that it's going to completely protect you. When they looked at sunscreens, not this one because it's a spray, but they looked at like lotions and creams, it took an ounce to cover your body. Now think of this. Sunscreen sometimes is a 6 or an 8 ounce container or 4 ounce container. Let's say it's an 8 ounce container. If you had a family of 4, you can only put it on twice. If you were reapplying it through the day, your family will go through one of these in a day. And guess what happens? People say, yeah, this is my sunscreen. I've had it since last year. Yeah, well, they've had it since last year because they never put it on. So you got to put it on before you go out in the sun. They say 15 minutes before. SPF, sun protection factor, tells you what percent or fraction of the sun is coming through. SPF 50, 1/50th, 2%. SPF 30, 1/30th, about 3% of the sun. The next thing about the label of sunscreen, they'll usually or often say broad spectrum. They'll use the term UVA and UVB. Now UVB is the burning rays. UVA technically is a ray that produces sun damage, tanning, but still permanently damages your skin. What's the SPF deal with? It only deals with UVB. There is no SPF when it comes to UVA. At this point, in 2017, we have no accurate measure to say how helpful something is at blocking UVA. But we want to be sure that we use sunscreen that is broad spectrum, that says UVA and UVB. Some sunscreens use physical blockers. This one's called Sheer Physical Sunscreen. It's a zinc-based product. Sprays on, rubs in easily. If a guy was to put this on his hands, a couple sprays in each, could cover his whole face, back of his neck, ears, inside the ears, not all the way in, the rims of the ears. I tend to find sunscreen, here's how I would pick it. Something that goes on fast and easy. If it's fast and easy, you're going to use it. If you don't like it, you're not going to. I'm a big fan of sprays. Remember, if it's the aerosol sprays, you should still rub it in. 15 minutes before you go out, it takes about 15 minutes to activate. The best thing you could do is put it on your sun-exposed parts every day, especially your face, neck, ears. For you guys in school, it's hard for me to comment. I don't know what it is that you wear to school. If you're wearing shorts, presumably you should protect your legs. I still favor the spray. A lot of sunscreens say water resistant or waterproof. Nothing's truly waterproof. Water resistant or sweat proof, these are the terms you're going to see. They usually imply that they're waterproof or sweat proof for a period of 10 years? No. A month? I don't think so. 5 hours? No. The label says 40 to 80 minutes. So you dunk into that pool, it's only going to last 40 to 80 minutes. And in the pool, it's going to wash off. You're going to have to reapply it. You go in the pool 10 times. If we were telling you what you should do, it would say you should reapply this 10 times. How many people do that? I don't think too many do. What else does it say on the label? Well, it'll say the ingredients. We commented that some are physical sunscreens using zinc or titanium. Those would be the two main ones. And some are chemical sunscreens. This one doesn't say chemical, but it is chemical. It's not using zinc. It's got a bunch of fancy names on the back called octinoxate, octastat, oxybenzone. Sunscreens that use chemicals absorb the light. Sunscreens that use physical products like zinc, remember that's the stuff people put on their nose, the white stuff, that's like reflecting the light, it's not absorbing it. I tend to be a bigger fan of physical sunscreen. Men and women like to use different things. I find men tend to use sprays more. I think in kids, spray is the way to go. Neutrogena makes a lot that are just press the button and just keep on spraying like a Lysol can. Rub it in afterwards. Put it on 15 minutes before you go out. Some sunscreens have a lot of smell. To me, they smell yucky. Like there's some guy at the beach and he sprays it, and a gust of wind comes, blows it in your face, and you're like, yuck. It's like annoying other people too. I like to use things that don't have fragrance. Some sunscreens are more elegant for women. Men, we don't like putting stuff on our skin, period. So elegant usually doesn't matter to us. What matters to us is fast, easy, I can't see it, and I can't feel it. The one that I have in my office, called Replenix or Topics, it's available online. I don't promote brands, I don't have a favorite. My favorite one is the one that you use. This one's a moisturizing one. Women like this one because it goes on nice. It's got a little bit of what appears to be tint. It's actually not tint, it's green tea as an antioxidant. You'll see lots of other chemicals that are on the label. This one, sheer physical sunscreen, unlike the first one that I showed you that was a spray. It's a heavier product. This one will leave a little bit of a whitish residue. Does sunscreen protect you from cancer? Let's see what the back of the label says. Provides antioxidant broad spectrum SPF protection against sunburn if used as directed with other sun protection measures, see directions, decreases the risk of skin cancer. No sunscreen by itself has a labeling that says it reduces skin cancer. But intuitively, using sunscreen does reduce skin cancer. What's your alternative? Not using sunscreen. Well, you're going to burn. In the news, a lot of things have been written about sunscreens, like if you use it, you're going to be vitamin D deficient. Guess what? You're probably going to be vitamin D deficient whether you use sunscreen or don't. You can get your vitamin D level checked, probably not for kids so much, but for adults, and you can take vitamin D. It's safer to take vitamin D than it is to go outside and get sun exposure to get your vitamin D. So sunscreen, the key factors are the SPF, the sun protection factor. What fraction of the sun it allows in? A 30, 130, a 50, 150. In my opinion, they're all about the same once you go over an SPF 30. Broad spectrum. You want to use sunscreen that has UVA and UVB protection. Physical versus chemical. It's kind of your choice. I like the physical blockers personally. The biggest issue is applying it before you go out, 15 minutes before, and reapplying it. Because remember, you're out there, it's hot, you're sweating, you got your towel, you're wiping off, you go in the pool. In order to really protect yourself, you'd have to just keep reapplying this. When I was in the Amazon about 5 or 6 years ago, my guides who would drive the boats in the Amazon, they had protective hats covering their ears. Oh, they were from Peru, and they were very dark-skinned, and they were born dark-skinned. And despite their being born dark-skinned, they were using sunscreen. They had hats protecting their ears. They had gloves with finger cutouts, and some of them had Samson's mask on. And I go, if you were out there, I was on a trip in the Caribbean, and my guide was very dark black skin, and he was wearing one of these. Because anyone can burn. White, black, Asian, Hispanic. The more damage we get, the more problems it causes later. So you say, well, if I was in Peru with people way darker skinned than me, I was fishing with a guy with extremely darker skin than me, and he was protecting. Shouldn't I? So just to summarize, in this lesson we talked about sunscreen. We talked about what SPF means, broad spectrum, UVA and UVB, water resistant or sweat resistant, nothing sweat proof or waterproof. 40 to 80 minutes is usually how they're labeled, so you need to reapply it. What if you're not in the water? What if you're not sweating? Should you reapply it? Well, that's a tricky question. I think if you're at the beach, you should reapply it. I think if you're at school, here's what I would say. You should put it on in the morning, especially for your face. And if you're going to be outside, probably for more than 10 or 15 minutes during the day, the parts of you that are exposed should have it on. The alternative would be sun protective clothing. Hats. I didn't see anyone when I passed the elementary school. I passed Cottle Creek Elementary on the way here. Didn't see anyone with a hat. I didn't see anyone with long sleeves. These are really protective things. Remember, ultraviolet light is invisible, but the damage it produces is very visible. You don't want surprises later, like this spider in your shoe, a black widow, or a brown recluse. Johnny, are you sleeping back there? Wake up, because I got my eyes on you. And there's going to be a quiz coming up after this. And if you don't pass, well, you'll hear about it. Now, why do I want you to learn this? Because there's things you do now when you're 10 years old that impact you later. And this is truly one of them. And when I was 10, nobody did teach it to me. We never heard this at school. I don't remember what my parents did. I don't know if we used sunscreen. I certainly didn't use sunscreen every day. I think when we went to the pool, you know, at some community center, we put sunscreen on. But I went to camp every day. I didn't pack sunscreen when I went to camp. I was outside every day. You guys should use sunscreen. You should use protective clothing. If you get used to doing this now, it'll be less of a chore. It'll just be a routine that you do just like you brush your teeth. And this routine will keep you out of my office. Remember, if you get to come to my office when you're 35, 40, 45, 50, you've been to tanning bed, I got to use one of these on you. And then you can be part of my science project. But I got enough people who are in my science project. You don't want these parts of your face and body coming off you. I got enough people. People sometimes think, you know, us doctors, you know, all we're interested in is doing things to people. I'd rather do nothing to people. But the only way I get to do nothing is if you protect yourself. So pay attention now and protect yourself. It's Dr. Steve Lowell. Thanks for listening.